Last year in week 26 of Preppin Data, there was the first ever challenge to use no type calculations. And it really highlights the benefits of Prep's ability to be able to do so much without having to write any calculations whatsoever. So in this case, we're working with some cocktails and we've got all their ingredients and how much they cost. And we want to do some nice preparation to that, to split down all of these ingredients into a separate row and find out the average cost of a cocktail that has that ingredient in it. So if we go open up a new Tableau Prep, then let's connect to some data. And I know that this is a Excel file, so that helps me. It's in my downloads folder, and let's just search for it by searching for the number 26. Okay, cool. Here it is there. So this has brought automatically the data into Tableau Prep. So let's have a look at it by adding a step straight away. Now let's do some renaming. So we can see actually that our cocktails, that should be the name of this field here. So let's switch on the data interpreter in Tableau Prep and bring that up into as a field name, which is great, that's worked well. So we also want to rename these other fields, to be honest. So I'm going to name this price and ingredients for the ingredients. Or ingredient. Let me just double click and add an S there. Lovely. So that's step one. We've done some field naming. Cool, let's go to step two. Now we've got all of our ingredients at the moment in one field, but it would be good to have them all split up. We can see they've got a comma in between each of the ingredients. So let's go ahead and use Tableau Prep's awesome functionality to be able to split the values up. Let's do a custom split, and we'll use a comma here as the thing that is separating one ingredient from another. We will choose all of the ingredients because we're interested in them all, and we'll hit split. Okay, that's great. So the maximum number of ingredients in any cocktail is 6. There's only 2 cocktails that actually have that many ingredients, and most of them are blank, so we can see a lot of blanks here. So what we're going to do, this is where we split the ingredients, we'll call that, is we're going to reshape our data. We're going to pivot it so that all of these ingredients are back in a single column, but they're on separate rows from each other rather than all being joined together in this sort of a field. So we're going to get rid of this field now because we don't need it. We've got all the information split out instead. So let's add a pivot step. And we're going to be taking our columns and changing them into rows. And we're going to use a wildcard search here. And we know that ingredients is how each of our fields that we want to turn into rows starts. So we just hit enter there and all of them jump into the right place, which is great. So let's have a look at how that data is looking. Great. So now we've got a really easy way of getting rid of all that blank space because we can see it here. We can literally just click on that blank space there and click exclude, and now that's all nice and we've got rid of that all. Cool. So another thing that we can do to clean up this data a little bit more is ingredients split 1. Isn't that good a name? We kind of just want to know the number associated with that, of, you know, the number that that ingredient is added into the cocktail. So to do that, why don't we, let's try just changing this to a number and see how it gets on. Okay, that didn't work. I always like to try things in Tableau Prep, see if they work. And it's really easy to pop out the changes, pop out here, and just press the X on the change that you didn't like. And it's gone back to the way it was before. It's sort of like an undo button. Let's do something else. So we only want to keep the numbers. So let's clean this by removing all of the letters. Okay, that's worked. Now we've got those dashes that we don't want, so we can also clean and remove the punctuation. Awesome, we're nearly there. now we can just get rid of those spaces as well. So remove extra spaces. And now we've got numbers. So I reckon if we try and change it into a number now, it'll let us. Great. Now let's just rename this ingredient order or something along those lines. Cool. So we've got our ingredients. Oh, our ingredients are now named ingredient split. Let's call them just ingredients. We've got our ingredient order, the ingredient, the cocktail that it is, and the price. So let's just think back to what our requirements were. We wanted to know the average for each ingredient. What's the average price of a cocktail? So to calculate this, we're going to use an aggregate step. So we're going to group by our ingredients, and we're going to, instead of double clicking on this price here, we're going to click on the drop down and change it from a sum to an average, which is great because then we have the averages. But then how do we get this information associated with all of this that was back on the previous step? Because here we have 53 rows and now we've only got 39. So the way that we can do that is by dragging this aggregate step back and joining it to that clean step. We've not gone so good at renaming our steps that we're taking, but luckily I'm talking you through it, so hopefully that makes enough sense. So Tableau Prep's been clever enough to recognise that we want to join on the ingredients, which is great. So now if we take a look at our data, then apart from this additional ingredients column, which is called ingredients-1, which we can get rid of, this is looking a lot like how we want it to look. The only thing that we might want to rename here is this price-1. We probably want to rename this to average price, because that's what we calculated in our aggregate step. So now we can see some interesting outputs. This cocktail here, for example, the average price of this first one is in line with the average price of cocktails that contain sugar. Whereas if we look down here, for example, this Bloody Tommy, which contains lime, the price of this cocktail is actually above average for the price of cocktails that contain lime. So you might want to rethink your drink order. So I hope that helped show how great Tableau Prep can be with just a few clicks and the analysis that you can get to quickly. So thanks for listening.